5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You're now tuning in to Way Gaming Podcast, hosted by One Way Soldier. We answer your gaming-related questions and talk about gaming-related topics. Now available on major platforms like iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, and others, helping you game with a better understanding.
Hey, God bless you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Way Gaming. I'm your host, One Way Soldier, or you can call me Carl. And here on Way Gaming, we answer your game-related questions and talk about game-related topics. And on this episode, I'm going to be talking about two exciting topics for me. One that was announced, I know I'm a little, actually I'm not a little bit, I'm like actually a couple of weeks late to this topic, but I want to address that here on the show. And then also a big announcement from Microsoft with the cancellation of E3. It seems that there was nothing really to fill the spot, or I should say the void, right? Every year besides the Game Radar's future game show, which I am looking forward to that. Actually, there's been some awesome games that have been announced on that, and the end also AAA as well. But biggest announcement from Microsoft, which we will get to in a few moments here. So let's dive right in. So on this episode, or this first topic, I should say, is, this was actually a dream of mine. These two games that I'm about to name has really got me into gaming. I remember when I was younger, I used to watch my father play, and I was like, man, this game is so dope. It looks so dope, right? And I mean, yeah, it just looked cool to me. I remember after seeing this game, I always want to wear a leather jacket, and yeah, it just looked cool. Anyway, and the game I'm talking about is Max Payne. Well, Remedy announced Max Payne 1 and Max Payne 2, The Fall of Max Payne Remakes. And it's going to be under one title. So I guess when the remakes come out, it's going to be on one disc, and you get to play, either or, which is awesome. And man, when I heard this news, I'm telling you, my hype level, or if I had a hype meter, it was past that. It was above the max. It was, oh my goodness, because I wanted this for years, right? I mean, it's crazy that for the past couple of years or so, we've seen, come on, Star Wars Republic Commando recently got remastered, right? It was not even remade, but it was remastered to the PS4, Nintendo Switch, and then you also, Jedi Fallen Order, this old Star Wars games got remastered. Then was it Guerrilla Red Faction? I'm trying to remember, Remars Edition or something that got remastered, right? The old Red Faction game. Oh, Red Faction Guerrilla, that's what it's called. And then you also have Mafia 2 remastered, Mafia 1 remake, and I'm just like, man, are you seeing? Which is awesome, right? I'm not complaining about these games having remakes or remasters or anything, but my heart, I'm like, okay, even Alan Wake had a remaster, and that was more recent than Max Payne 1 and 2. When is Max Payne 1 and 2 going to get the full, I don't care if it was remastered, like ported over, and it just runs at 60 frames, 1080p. I wouldn't even care. I love Max Payne. Since the PlayStation 2 times, original Xbox, I still got my original Xbox copies, and I played through backwards compatibility on the Xbox Series X. But finally, this year, 2022, it was announced that Part 1 and Part 2 is getting a remake. And I want to read a little article from The Verge that summarizes it very well, and I'm just going to say, and I quote, Remedy Entertainment is remaking Max Payne 1 and Max Payne 2, The Fall of Max Payne. The company is establishing a new development agreement with Rockstar Games for the remakes, which will be released as a single title for PC, which is awesome. I'm glad they're doing it for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X. We were thrilled when our longtime friends at Remedy approached us about remaking the original Max Payne games, said the Rockstar Games founder, Sam Houser. We are massive fans of the work that Remedy team has created over the years, and we can't wait to play these new versions. And that's awesome. So again, I don't want Rockstar to touch it, right? And according to what I'm reading here later in this article, it shows that Rockstar is going to be funding the project. They're not going to be developing these remakes. It's all on Remedy. Remedy is going to be developing the games while Rockstar is funding the project. And I think that's awesome, right? I think that's awesome because, to be honest, I don't want Rockstar touching it. Why? Because we already see the role that they've... oh my goodness. I know the Xbox 360, right? Grand Theft Auto 4, was it Red Dead Redemption, the first one, and then that they used to release expansions. So, was it Grand Theft Auto 4 Liberty City Stories, and then Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare. Everyone always quotes this, right? They made different games, LA Noire. They, they weren't afraid to take risk. Midnight Club LA, and man, Rockstar has changed a direction for the worse. To be honest, I want the CEO to step down and somebody else takes over that's more qualified. Because I feel like, again, Rockstar, they have an amazing portfolio of IPs and games they have made, and they're not doing anything with it. Grand Theft Auto 5 for the past, honestly, I think it's like 8 years or so. 8, maybe. Well, I feel like it's 12 years. All I know is Grand Theft Auto 5 has now been on 3 different generations, and we have not seen a new entry, which is crazy to think about. Because that's their moneymaker. Why not, right? And actually, it won the Guinness World Record of the best-selling game of all time, Grand Theft Auto 5. It sold, I think, the last time I think that number is more now, but the last time I checked, it was like 50 million copies. That's insane. That is like every developer's or publisher's dream, right? But, in other words, without rumbling on, Rockstar, everything that they touch is like, they're monetizing everything that they have. You know what I mean? And also their quality of product is not the same anymore. I mean, obviously we all seen what happened with Grand Theft Auto, the Definitive Edition, and how that launched extremely buggy. And, they recently just did another patch to fix it, which I think it runs pretty good now and looks good. But, it was really surprising when that was announced, like, well, how the trilogy released the way it did. Because Rockstar, they always took, I should say, like, they were always known for the quality of their product. I think about LA Noire. I remember that was like stuck in 7 years of development, and that was a nice, like, that was an awesome product that they delivered, and praise the Mighty King, and it launched, barely with any bugs. And again, Grand Theft Auto 4 and so on, right? All their games. And with the release of the Grand Theft Auto trilogy, you could just really see that, okay, like when that released and the state it was, it's like, okay, what is going on with Rockstar? What happened? Did they, what happened, And I don't know if they changed leadership. I don't know if the CEO has been here for like, I should have done some more background research before I started recording, but I'm not sure if the CEO has been there for like years or he just stepped in or something, but all I know is it's not a good job, So my point is that I'm grateful that Rockstar, they're funding the game because they have the money. Oh my goodness, they got so much. They're funding the project, but Remedy, they are developing it. And what I love about Remedy is I had a conversation with somebody recently that it feels like when games come out today, it feels like there's no passion behind the project. Right? So what I'm talking about is like when the 6th gen consoles came out, the original Xbox, GameCube, and PS2, every game you played, first of all, didn't need DLC. It was also working order, right? Barely any glitches. What you paid for is what you got. And it was awesome. And you actually felt the passion behind the games, and just the replay value. But now there's, today and age, I mean, we all know there's so many games that launch broken, so many games that launch barely with any content, and it's just, we always know situations too of different development studios where there's a big problem in crunch in the industry, especially with Rockstar Games. Actually, yeah, it was first, I think, what went mainstream was Ubisoft, how it was bad crunch over there, and then Rockstar Games. The amount of hours or the crunch that they put the developers through to release Grand Theft Auto 5, the next gen versions, and other games is really crazy. So Remedy, though, I'm not sure if any of that's going on. There's been no reports of that or any abuse. But what I like about Remedy is that I feel like they're the very few studios that feels like there's quality behind their product. Like, to be honest, I know a lot of people didn't like it, but me, I love Quantum Break. Quantum Break, and then you had the TV show alongside with it. And then you had Control. Control was a very, very awesome game. I never beaten it, but unfortunately, but it's, so many, I have friends that played it and they always say, man, it was an actual fun game and they love the story and they thought it was brilliantly written. Obviously you have Alan Wake, like their portfolio is very good. And I know in the beginning, Control didn't make a lot of money when it first came out. But then when it released for next-gen consoles, I do believe they make a lot of money. But overall, their latest game, I know, has been, Crossfire X. And Crossfire X, I beat both of the campaigns, just in case if anybody doesn't know that's tuning into this podcast. First of all, thank you. And two, Crossfire X, the multiplayer was done by a Korean studio. And then the campaign, was done by Remedy. And, they had a small budget to work with. They didn't have a big budget to do, but, they worked with what they got. And I'm going to be honest with you, I thoroughly enjoyed it. A lot of people say, man, it feels like a 360 game. But to me, honestly, I personally don't feel like that's a bad thing. Especially when you could buy the Ultimate Edition for, I think it was like $25. You get the campaigns, both campaigns that it launches with. So it's, a cheap game. And, the multiplayer is for free. And honestly, I thoroughly enjoyed the campaigns. I thought it was fun, especially the second campaign. I thought that was well written as well. And again, it's just action packed. If you want to play just first person shooter, like classics, like 360 era, I recommend playing Crossfire X. Campaigns were really good in my opinion. And of course you could tell low budget, but again, it made me love it all more. I thought it was really great. The campaigns. And yeah, so Remedy, I think they have a good portfolio. And I know they're going to take care of this, especially throughout the years when the anniversaries of Max Payne happened, right? I forgot, I think it's the CEO. Is it the director or CEO? The dude that played, like, he did the actual face capture for Max Payne. He still works at the studio there. I think he's like 53. So hopefully he gets to do like motion cap again. That would be awesome for these new remakes. And again, it's really exciting to see what Remedy's going to do. I want to know if they're planning to add any content. I want to know if they're going to add any multiplayer. Again, I doubt it. Or they're going to keep everything the same, but how should I say? Keep everything the same, but obviously a fresh, like from the ground up, fresh new paint, graphics, ray tracing, etc. That's what I really want to know. Animations, I know they're going to redo and stuff, but I would like to know if there was any like deleted scenes when they were developing part 1 and part 2. Are they going to think about, man, you know what? This time around, we could add those deleted scenes that we took out years ago and put them in the new game. Or we could expand upon this mode and add new maps. Or, I would just like to see. I love Max Payne 1 and 2. Those are games that literally even to this day, I go back and play them. And I played them a lot. But they're just so fun and cool. And so I would like to see if this time around, are they going to add more levels? Is that possible? They're going to add more levels. I remember years ago, when Max Payne 3 was coming out, I remember the developers were discussing that they wanted back then when they made Max Payne 1 and Max Payne 2, they wanted to put multiplayer. But it was always a tough decision, and they ended up obviously to remove multiplayer. But they always wanted to add multiplayer to those games. And then that's why when Max Payne 3 came around, they added the multiplayer. And you can see that interview, I think, in GameSpot, YouTube, GameSpot, developer interview, etc. Max Payne 3. So I want to know that since they scrapped the idea years ago, this time around, is it possible? Will they add it in? So again, I'm just really excited to, one, the original developer or the studio is remaking these games, and is it possible we could see some new content? I think that would be really, really nice. But even if they didn't, I'm still going to be mad hyping by this day one, because again, this is the game. I mean, I played Halo when I was 8 years old. I used to watch my brother play Nintendo 64, Super Nintendo, etc. I used to watch him play a lot of games. But man, I really got into gaming when, Halo. I saw my pop play Halo. I played that. I enjoyed the living heck out of it. I used to play the original Xbox like game demos. I loved Def Jam, Fight for New York. I was on that like crazy. But before I actually played Def Jam, I remembered I played Max Payne 1 and 2. And I just, throughout the years, I played them over and over again, never got tired. To me, it's a masterpiece. So highly excited for this project. Glad that Remedy is taking charge of this, and, they're going to be developing this. And Rockstar, all they're doing is just funding. And I hope it stays like that. I don't want Rockstar to touch it. They're good what they are. Just don't touch it, And, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say on the project. Actually, it's a little strange too, because this was a press release for this, and I'm curious to where this is announced that the partnership was made, the project is in early development, and it's just a little weird that they didn't give no time frame, which they could take their time with it. They didn't give no time frame. They didn't give a release year. They didn't give a release window. They pretty much, what they did was, hey, we spoke with Rockstar. We agreed on something, and they're funding the project. We're making it. That's it. So, yeah, I think the reason why they did that, possibly, and I agree with Spawn Wave on this point. I do believe he said this in a video of his. Because I'm like, okay, it's so cool, but I'd like to see. I thought, in my opinion, when they announced this, I'm like, it's awesome. This news is awesome, but I would have liked for them to announce this in a teaser trailer, when they're a year in development in. Because based on this, it looks like it wasn't even, nothing is done yet. And this was April 6, 2022. So, yeah. I'm thinking the reason why they made this public and announced this is so that they can hire more developers for the project. That's my opinion. To me, that makes sense. That they announced this, hey, nothing's done yet, but we're making it. And so more developers could get on board, and then they could make this project. And I think that's why they announced this extremely, extremely early. And I think that's okay. I think that's awesome. So, yeah. So that's my thoughts on Max Payne 1 and 2 Remake. That's happening soon. Very excited for it. And then the second topic that I want to talk about in this episode is Microsoft has officially announced Xbox. Oh my god, what is it called? It's called there you go. Okay, it's called the Xbox and Bethesda Game Showcase. Highly excited for this. As we all know, early in this year, maybe in March or February, it was announced that E3 has been officially canceled for this year once again. And, E3 has... So, as we all know, E3 has been officially canceled this year. Which is a good thing, because E3 has been very, very, very stale. I mean, I think about 2020, I think E3... was it 2020 or 2021? I remember Square Enix presentation was whack, and literally Microsoft and Nintendo was the one carrying E3. I remember Rockstar Games actually had their own press conference, and literally that was just them. They spent, I think 2 hours or an hour and a half or so just talking about there is gay and homo, like the gay and lesbians in leadership. And yeah, that's it. It's just so weird that no games were mentioned at all, and etc. Right? I mean, that's Rockstar's fault, not exactly E3, but I mean, again, that's Rockstar's fault. But still, in other words, it got canceled, and the reason why, I do believe they announced that, the reason why is because they're saving their resources for next year. Next year they're planning to make it the biggest event that they ever done next year. So I hope they can keep that promise, because again, their E3 has been really off lately, and I would like to see a major comeback next year, definitely. Because at E3 time, I always like to make it an event where I barbecue that day before the press conferences happen, and invite my friends over, family, and then we just have a blessed time and hang out. So I was a little sad when E3 was officially canceled this year. Understandably though, since it was only going to be an online event. And now to the day and age, you have, again, Sony State of Play, you have Nintendo Direct, Microsoft did their own showcase. Like, you have these companies, even studios, Bandai Namco and Square Enix, etc. Like, if developer wants to, we're at an age where developers want to show off a game. Now they could just host their own event. They don't have to pay thousands of dollars to be featured in an event and show off their title. They could just either one, just post a YouTube video of the trailer, and then two, just make their own event if they have several games to line up. So yeah, they really have to revamp and really think about E3. What are they going to do? They have to really implement some changes or make it worthwhile for developers to present on their show. And that's why I always, and Jeff Keighley, for me, I enjoyed Summer Game Fest last year. Didn't enjoy the year before, because the year before it was just too spaced out, whatever. But last year it was actually good. I actually enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But for me, he still has some work to do on that. And also OB Live, or I'm trying to remember that event. There you go, Gamescom. There you go, opening night live. There you go. Actually do like that event as well. Really good. So anyway, with that said, I'm really excited, really happy that Microsoft has announced that they're doing their own show. I still am not sure how long the event is going to be. I do have the times, but I'm not sure. I heard that it's going to be an hour and a half, but I didn't look up an official source. I got the information secondhand, so I'm not really sure. But anyway, I have an article here from Game Rant that I want to read, and it's really cool because it's a rumor. It's a rumor that almost every Xbox studio has something to present for the June 2022 showcase. So, a new rumor has suggested that almost all Xbox studios submitted something for the Xbox and Bethesda Games Showcase event on June 12th. Microsoft will soon host a massive event featuring several noteworthy games coming to Xbox from first-party and third-party studios. And the Xbox and Bethesda Games Showcase will air Sunday, June 12th at 10 a.m. PT and 12 p.m. CT. So if it was 12 p.m., 10 a.m. Pacific time, I'm assuming it's 1 o'clock Eastern. It's weird that they don't have that listed here. And players can consider it to be Xbox's big summer press conference of 2022. Fans has been speculating about all the games Microsoft will present at the show ever since it was announced last week. Microsoft has several exciting games in development, including Forza Motorsport, Fable, Perfect Dark. And I'm curious, man, like, I want to see what do they have for Perfect Dark, because again, we recently heard not too long ago that, 15 people left the initiative. And development didn't stop for Perfect Dark, but I know right now it's sort of in a disastrous place. And a lot of people left because of the slow progression in terms of the development. So I'm really curious to see they actually have something to show. It's been a couple of years now. And, I hope so. I think that'll be cool. They're probably going to show maybe a trailer or a trailer/demo. I would like to see a demo. I miss, those days where we just saw demo presentation, right? Somebody actually playing the game and not just cut bits and pieces of gameplay into a trailer. I really don't like that at all. I really, really, really don't like that. And Hellblade 2 and others. There are probably enough first-party games in development on Xbox to cover the whole show, but fans can expect to see some third-party titles. A new rumor now suggests that almost every Xbox studio made something for the event, which is awesome. This rumor comes from Rada Thor, one of the hosts of the Xbox 2 podcast. It was featured special guest on another podcast named PM. And the PM, he mentioned, yada, 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 yada. All right, so that's cool, though. That is awesome. And then it's cool because we also have, I think earlier in June, maybe the first week of June, I think we also have Summer Game Fest with Jeff Keighley. So definitely next month, there is some exciting stuff to show. And the crazy thing is also, we're also in May. So I'm actually I'm sure a lot of listeners could care less about this, but I'm also excited because Infinity Ward has released a teaser for Modern Warfare 2. So we know it was coming. But it's finally their turn to release Modern Warfare 2. So I am excited. I'm pretty sure in one of these events, we are going to see gameplay, especially, and I won't be surprised, now that Microsoft is in they acquired Activision Blizzard. That deal does not complete until 2023, maybe even the middle of 2023. But the deal is ongoing, and I think honestly we're going to see the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 gameplay on the Xbox showcase. I truly believe, and then that'll be amazing. And again, I was actually talking about it with shout out to Wallcrawler, and it's been a few years since Fable was in development, and to be honest, I would really like to see some gameplay for the new Fable game. That's a beloved. I always tell people, like, my favorite RPG of all time has been Fable. Fable 1, Fable 2. I've beaten all the Fables. And to me, it's always, like, I never feel like, I don't really play a lot of RPGs, because usually RPGs, there's a lot of, I don't want to sound weird saying this, but, this may sound weird me saying this, but RPGs, you have to commit a lot of time to. Right? I think about Final Fantasy. There's some grinding involved in that. Or not some, excuse me. There's grinding involved in Final Fantasy. One in particular, just Final Fantasy 15. You have to grind in order to beat some of these bosses. And it could take a while, just grinding, killing enemies, and, hoping to level up. So, to me, I do like RPGs. There's, been a few. I love, like, Chrono Cross, for example. I do love Final Fantasy 7. Mass Effect, etc. But, yeah, so... But like Fable, that was the one RPG that never felt like a chore to me. No matter how many times I played it, just the world was always funny, interesting, beautiful to look at, especially Fable 1 and 2. It was very beautiful to look at, the world. And the gameplay is just so much fun. I love the fluidity of the combat. I love the simplicity of, you can swing a sword, shoot a firearm, and then you also have powers to handle. And then also just, I like the minority system. To me, that was at its time, very unique. Fable 1 came out on original Xbox, that literally your appearance could literally change depending if you done bad actions or good actions. Literally, if you did bad actions, literally your character would start to grow horns. He would start to have pestilence around them, right? And then if you did good, your character would actually, your hero would have a halo around his head. He would shine white. You would see some like godly rays, right? It's so cool. It's so cool. And also I loved about the Fable games too, especially part 2, was you could start a family. You could be a landlord. You could, in other words, if you just want to take a break from the main adventure, you could literally build a life. And I always loved that about Fable. So it was always a beloved franchise for me. And I'm a little nervous because, again, like, it's not being done by Lionhead Studio. It's being done by Playground Games. Now, I'm not lacking Playground Games, the creators of Forza Horizon series. They've released an amazing, amazing game. Especially Forza Horizon 5. Like, that game is top notch. But Fable, because it was also unique. The game was also at times funny and weird. And there's a certain, it has a certain flavor to it. So with that kind of game, especially if you're rebooting the franchise, if it as a longtime fan of that game, and fans, they have to be careful that they don't miss that. Like, they have to try to capture that, or rather, not just capture what the old games felt like, but to make it better. And that's going to be a great challenge. Is it impossible? No, I'm not saying that at all. But for me as a fan, I'm like, oh man, I hope they're careful with this. I hope they take their time. Excuse me, I said that. I hope they take their time, and I hope they don't rush it. I hope we don't see monetization in it. That's another thing. I hope they take the time, because, I never thought Halo, right? I never thought we'll see what happened in Halo Infinite happen. Like, Halo is their heavy hitter. And, when the game launched, it launched incomplete. It was cool that the multiplayer is free to play, and I'm not trying to get into that topic, but they launched with a campaign, but co-op was missing, Forge was missing. There was bugs at the other patch. If you bought a physical copy, Halo Infinite is the first Halo game ever where you have a physical copy in your hands. The only way to, like, half the game is on the disc, and you have to download the rest of the game through the internet. That is not cool, and you guys hear me complain episode after episode about that, so I'm not going to get into that because it's a whole topic within itself. But to me, I'm so disappointed because that's crazy because this is Halo, right? And now there's even further where, oh my goodness, like it might be 6 more months until we get another season drop in Halo Infinite. I'm going to be honest, I stopped playing Halo Infinite. I went back to Halo Master Chief Collection, and it's an amazing game. Matter of fact, they just did an update, added a Flood Firefight, which I highly recommend playing that. That's so good. But it's a complete package, and I love Halo, Master Chief Collection. And yes, when that launched, it was buggy too. But even though it was a lot of bugs in there, Halo Master Chief Collection had a lot of content. Add Halo 1, 2, 3, and 4 on, in one package. Now you got Halo DST, Halo Reach, and, it's crazy. So, yeah. But anyway, my point of comparing this with Halo, Fable, I hope they don't rush it. I hope they take their time with it. It's been a long time. That's good. Just take your time. But to be honest, it's been a few years now. I would like to see something at the showcase. They released a teaser trailer. All right, how about, a 3-minute gameplay demo, right? Just a level to see what's cooking, That's what I really want. Also, State of Decay 3. I know Microsoft, they have a problem of announcing games too early. But man, I'm really excited to see State of Decay 3 as well. State of Decay 2 I loved, right? It's been a couple of years now, and we haven't heard or seen anything of that. Also, I'm really surprised too that we didn't even get what's that game? Warhammer Dark Tide. I would love to see that game, like a gameplay demo in the showcase. I'm just trying to think of other games too, but yeah, I'm excited for the showcase because I get it. The pandemic hit in 2020, and that put a delayed in a lot of projects and a lot of things. And I'm happy with the Xbox Series X. I love FPS boost, which I'm going to get to more in a second, actually. But, I just feel like me buying the Xbox Series X, I felt like I was left with a lot of unfulfilled promises. So I'm not talking about the system itself. Again, Auto HDR, FPS boost, you get to play your old games and better than ever before. Performance is top notch, 12 teraflops of GPU. Games that will unlock uncapped frame rates, you could, it would hit 60 no problem, right? It's an amazing console, it really is. But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of unfulfilled promises. And to me, as I've been a fan of Microsoft, of Xbox, not Microsoft, Xbox, for a long time. And, I'm telling you, like, the Xbox 360 felt more complete. Well, obviously, I'm not excluding the Red Ring of Death thing, but I'm talking about, like, first-party games. I'm not saying we don't have any. We have first-party games. We do have Xbox Game Pass, absolutely, but there's just a lot of games that have yet to come out, and games that have came out, the quality is not 100%. And that concerns me. So I really am looking forward to this event because hopefully that impression that I just expressed to you, I hope it changes. It needs to change. And yeah, I mentioned FPS boost. So I remember when, I think it was 2 years ago, right? When the launch of the Xbox Series X, it was 2021, I think, early 2021. Microsoft announced FPS boost. They showed off games that were capped at 30 frames per second from no work of developers at all, where you can enable 60 frames per second. And they showed off Fallout 4 and then the Outer Worlds. And it's such a cool thing. And then last year, they did one final batch of backwards compatibility games, and then also Jason Ronald also has put out a statement that was the last batch of backwards compatibility games that they will be adding to the program, because due to which I don't believe. System in terms of system limitation, at the system limitation level, legal issues, and also licenses. So I do agree with the licenses, and where the developers lost licenses for games or IPs, etc. And legal stuff. Like, for example, we'll never see Def Jam Fight for New York, I think, of backwards compatibility, because they have to get the okay from like every artist and Def Jam and stuff in the game. I think that would be tough. But I don't believe there was issues with the games running on better hardware. I just don't believe that. If you optimize it and emulate it well, I do believe that's not an issue at all. They just have to emulate it. But I'm not a programmer. But at the same time, I do follow other game developers, and I mean, come on, there's a modern group that they've released a PlayStation 3 emulator, and in other words, it's possible for them to run games on the Series X. But anyway, so he mentioned that. That's why they ended the program, or there's no more added to the program due to that. And then the technique that they were currently using for FPS boost, that's why they weren't adding any more FPS boost. There was a lot of games, a lot of games that they tried, and a lot of games, even when they go 80% through the game, all of a sudden a game-breaking bug happens. So there was a lot of games that they couldn't add that support on. But again, I've mentioned this, I forgot what episode, but I did talk about this before. But I really do hope that they will announce a new technique or something in this showcase. I hope they announce something, because he didn't say, that's it, we're done with FPS boost. He just says, with the current technique that we have, we can't do anymore. So I really hope that they find a new technique, because again, like my examples I mentioned with Dark Souls 3, they used a different technique that was exclusive to Dark Souls 3. So I hope that there is a technique that they find that they could continue supporting FPS boost. To me, that needs to happen. To me, FPS boost is amazing, a game changer, literally. And I would love to see more games added to that program, like Fable 2, for example. I mean, there's a whole list, but I would love to see them come up with a new technique that they're able to make a game, like uncap the FPS or make it 60 frames without changing the game code. Or if they have to change the game code, go ahead. I can't wait to see, and just to see what else they're going to come up with. I'm excited for that, because also, again, they had over 500 people in the backwards compatibility team. And for the program to just now end, like, what are those 500 people going to do? They're just going to help out other game studios? Or are they going to help make system updates now? You know what I mean? I think there's more in the works. And I don't remember the woman's name, but there's, I think, the head of a community manager for Microsoft. And I remember her saying, she tweeted out a couple of months ago saying, man, I can't wait to show you guys what we're coming up with. And an example of, one day we announced this, and another day we announced FPS boost. So I hope that, you can check it out on Twitter. I forgot the woman's name, but she's the community manager, I do believe, at Microsoft. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen. So that's what my excitement for this event. I hope something like that is announced. And again, just to see, God willing, some promises fulfilled as an Xbox player. So can't wait for that. And so that is my thoughts on these two topics. And that's all I have to say about it. Please let me know your thoughts. If you're watching on YouTube, you leave a comment. If you have any questions and or topics you want me to address and talk about here on the show, you can send your question and or topic at twgpquestions@gmail.com. Make sure you write question or topic at the subject bar, and also make sure you leave your name so that way I can properly address you here on the show. Also, you could follow me on Twitter at Way Gaming. You could also send me a message and or a question or a topic there if you want me to address it here on the show. Also have Instagram Way Gaming Podcast. You can look up on Instagram. You can look at the description of this episode. You see it there. Also, let's see. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Way Gaming Podcast. You could, look me up, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode. And with all my heart, I want to say thank you so very much for tuning in, and thank you so much for your support. Please, subscribe wherever you're tuning in from. Make sure you tell your friends and family about Way Gaming. There's been ideas that I've been coming up with that I want to do for Way Gaming. I know it's been a couple of weeks that I've been absent. I'm gonna be honest, I've been just so overwhelmingly busy, but the show will go on. I'm not stopping. I've just been extremely busy. But yeah, just thank you so much for sticking around. Love you guys. God bless you. Most importantly, Jesus loves you. My name is One Way Soldier, and this is the end of my transmission. Pew.